Hi everyone, it's Julie from Veterans NHS Wales. Thank you for joining me again for another story in a series of stories from veterans across Carmarthenshire, Ceredigion and Pembrokeshire. They are helping us celebrate 10 years of Veterans NHS Wales in Hywel Dda University Health Board. Today I'm really delighted to be joined by Danny, and he is here to tell us his story. So Danny, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Danny Nash. I served in the army for near on 9 years. I was in the Royal Signals, and I started my time off at 14 SIGs in Brawdy in Pembrokeshire. I'd one tour to Afghanistan in 2009 with them, where I was attached to 19 Light Brigade Brigade Reconnaissance Force. I spent 3 years at 14 SIGs, which was really good. I really enjoyed my time there. I went to Hereford after that, where I finished my career. I currently live in Pembrokeshire because it's a nice part of the country. People are nice, place is nice. So yeah, I'm quite happy. When I got out, struggled to find a job where I really felt worthwhile. The police I didn't enjoy. I think it was too structured. I currently work in the council in the housing department. So yeah, that's where I'm at now.
Danny, how did you find out about Veterans NHS Wales?
At the time when I was pretty much rock bottom, I think I found it online. I think someone referred me.
Okay, so Danny, what way did Veterans NHS Wales help you?
What way did they help me? I think without the help and support that yourself and the organisation has given me, like I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here now, I think it sort of even more so made me realise that I did have a serious problem, and I needed to get it sorted, So yeah, I think it's just a sheer case of bringing me back to normality.
And Danny, what were the best parts about your treatment with Veterans NHS Wales?
The best parts, I suppose, it's not really easy going through treatment. The best part, it's. I suppose it goes hand in hand with I've done courses and stuff before, but it's never really helped. But the education side of why you've got a problem, how your brain functions and stuff like that. Because I wanted to get it sorted. I found that sort of stuff quite interesting, and I suppose the best part was just going through the motions, and each milestone along the way, it was like a little goal, and as you got better and better, and even filling the forms out, you can see yourself, the scores coming down. It's like, well, I'm doing all right here, So I think the best part is just that self-realisation that you're getting better,
And for you, what was the most important part of your course of treatment?
The most important part? I don't know really. The most important part? Well, certainly getting some sort of sense of normality in my life back. The most important part? Understanding, maybe. Understanding what went on in 2009 and how that's made me feel and act the way I do or did, and getting to the end goal, which was sorting the problem out. I think that's the most important part, wanting a goal at the end of it.
And Danny, you mentioned that treatment was at times very hard. So what was it that kept you coming to treatment even though it was hard?
Desire to get better, not that you every week or whatever you want to go and talk about a load of horrendous stuff, but you got to, without wanting to get better and you know, retelling a story over and over again, you ain't going to get better, I suppose. So yeah, I think the desire to come back was just to get better, and knowing that I am like.
Which parts of treatment stand out for you the most?
Which part of treatment stand out the most? If I'm honest, yeah, it's like when you're in the EMDR, it's like these weird abstract visions that you get. Like that's absolutely crazy for me, you know, and like that's the stuff that stands out, you know. And I think as well, like seeing the scores come down on these sheets, you know, at the start of the appointments and stuff, I think that's a standout moment for me, because I realised I was getting better, you know.
In what way, Danny, did the sort of like those abstract visions, how did they help? Can you remember what way they were beneficial?
I think it was just seeing the dark side. It sounds way off, like, you know, but seeing the dark side to how you're feeling and how your brain's working, you know. We'll have to cut that, like. But yeah, I think seeing these weird visions, like, you know, it's like the dark side of how you're feeling and acting, you know. It sounds way off, but you know, that's what I experienced, and you know, it benefited me, like, you know.
In what way has your life changed then since treatment? Like, how was it before, or how is it different now?
Before the treatment, I was a horrible person, really, you know. I wasn't very nice to anyone, including myself. And after treatment, I'm a totally different person. You know, I'm happy, I'm outgoing, you know, not a care in the world. You know, I quite like myself. Not all the time, you know. But yeah, you know, it's just opposite ends of the spectrum for me. You know, from this dark, horrible human being that I was to, you know, who I am now, it's totally different.
And you mentioned, I know we've talked about this before, that sometimes men in particular are a bit reluctant to seek help for problems. What would you want to say to someone who's reluctant to come forward to have help with Veterans NHS Wales?
I think the main thing is realising that you've got an issue, like, you know, that's the first hurdle. And as soon as you've realised in yourself that you've got a problem, like especially a bloke, like, you know, because we all shut it in, you know, and go off into our little cave. But yeah, as soon as you realise you've got a problem, that's when you sort of think, right, you know, that's step one. What's the next step? How do I get help? You know, where do I go to find help? And as a serving or ex-serving member of the armed forces, like, what I've found is the Veterans NHS is there specifically for you, you know. Not that I would ever believe that there was a service like that, but there is, you know. And yeah, just get help, like, really, you know. I was a sort of person that never spoke to anyone about it, you know, until it was like way too late, and I thought, you know, I'm really in trouble here, like, you know, I've got to speak out and get the help that I need. So.
And Danny, do you think it's important that veterans have a sort of specialised service like Veterans NHS Wales?
I think it's important that the armed forces per se has some sort of mental health service specifically designed for them, because, you know, in my experience where I live here, I say the civilian sort of mental health services, but, you know, the more generic, untailored stuff is, you know, it's crap or rubbish, to be honest, you know. Like I had a couple of appointments and it never helped me at all, you know. So I think having a tailored, specifically designed mental health service for the armed forces is fantastic. You know, I can't see why the government ain't done it sooner, really, you know, but I'm not in charge.
And Danny, in what way do you think the service was tailored specifically to you as a veteran?
I think the understanding of the military culture, the rapport that I built up with yourself quite quickly. I don't know really, that's quite a tough question, I suppose. I've seen people before, like military people, and I think there's still that stigma, you know, you don't want to, you know, sort of unleash your demons for fear of reprisal in your career or something, you know. Or I think it may be like the unfamiliarity, you know, whereas you're speaking to like someone who's in uniform or whatever, like because there's that unfamiliarity that I don't know what it's like for anyone else, but I seem to open up a bit more, you know. I think maybe that helps, you know, and I think ultimately if you have the treatment, you just got to jump in at the deep end and give it your best right from the start. Like,
What would you like other veterans to know about Veterans NHS Wales?
that it's there for you to use, ultimately. Personally, I think that there needs to be some sort of, like, everyone has this decompression that, you know, it's not decompression at all really, you know, but there should be like courses or mandatory stuff that people go on, like these are the services available if you're feeling like this, but you know, you've got to know about it, you know. Google it, like, you know, there's tons of services out there, but for me, you know, I think given the fact that it's specifically it's an NHS service at the end of the day, everyone pays for it, you know, but because it's specifically tailored for veterans, like it's the best one, you know. I'm boycotting the others, like, you know, but it's the best one that I've found.
And Danny, is there anything else you want to say about your experience of having a course of treatment with Veterans NHS Wales?
I think it's been fantastic. You know, it's like I lived with this for like 10 years. It's been horrific, but in the space of 12 months with yourself, it's completely changed things. You know, it's bizarre how 12 months of basically getting to know someone and chatting to them about how you're feeling and stuff can change your life, and I think it's been absolutely incredible. You know, it's been an incredible journey for me, and you know, certainly the people around me back home, like, you know, it's been brilliant. So yeah, I'd highly recommend people in a similar position or whatever to use the service, like, because it's there for us.
And Danny, when you think about the future, how do you feel about that now?
How do I feel about the future? I suppose now that my past ain't an issue, because it certainly was. I think now my past ain't an issue. You know, I can look and aspire to whatever I want, like, you know. I think certainly whilst I had a problem, you know, I felt like doors were closed and pathways and avenues were crossed off to me, like, you know. But certainly now that I suppose I'm normal, you know, everything's sort of opened back up, like, you know. I think that's quite an important part of the learning curve and the treatment, is realising that off the back end, you know, you can do a lot of stuff and you're not closed off to certain things.
And Danny, do you have any particular hopes for the future? Any plans that you're making?
Well, getting married, starting a family. I think that's a pretty big change, you know. I certainly didn't want to do that before. Yeah, just living a normal life, like, you know. And other than that, you know, everything's good.
Danny, are there things that you're able to do in your life now that you weren't able to do when you were feeling so unwell?
Yeah, I think now that I am back to some sort of normality, I got a bit more motivation to go out and do fitness type activities. Like, I hated running, absolutely despised it because I was rubbish at it, but like I've gained this sort of motivation to go and do it, you know, whether that's as a result of you know, feeling all right in myself, you know. I suppose it's given me the self-confidence, and you know, with this sort of zest for self-confidence that I got in a minute, I switched football teams that I play for, and you know, I started playing for the top team in Pembrokeshire, you know, whereas before I just never had the balls to even bother trying, like, you know. But yeah, you know, it's been going quite well the last 5 weeks, strength to strength. So, you know, I seem to be all right at that, you know. So yeah.
And Danny, do you think the relationship that a veteran has with their therapist is important?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the key factors. Like, I've seen a fair few people before, but it's never clicked. Now, whether that's like they're not rubbish at their job or whatever, you know, but I think it's a couple of factors really. I suppose, you know, one is I probably weren't ready at the time to accept the fact that I need help, you know. I didn't have trust in myself to get better. Through this service and meeting with yourself, like, I certainly had trust in you and belief in you that you were gonna provide me with this normal life, like, you know, which has happened, which is brilliant, like, you know. But like, it was you saying in the first couple of appointments, like you've got to drive this, you know. And I think in a way, yeah, I think that I was partly a driving force, but I think the therapist has got to be a driving force as well, you know. And I think, you know, maybe you have that trust and belief in me that I want to get better, and I think the two, you know, have worked quite harmoniously, and you know, the end result has been this sense of normality. So I think certainly the rapport that you've got with your therapist is a key defining factor of treatment, like.
And Danny, you mentioned about trust being important. Are there any other aspects of that relationship that you had with me that was really important in helping you get better?
I think really maybe it's because you identified a certain course of treatment quite quickly, like, you know. I think it might have been like the second or third appointment we had, but like, it was quite quick, and I thought, well, you know, okay, let's go for this, like, you know. And I think it's got to be a partnership at the end of the day, you know. You identified a treatment, and whoever's being treated is like, right, well, yeah, let's go for it, and like I say, jump in at the deep end, and away you go. So I think that's been quite important, you know, really.
And Danny, is there anything else that stands out? Maybe something that I said or something that I did, and you think, you know, being a veteran, that was really helpful to me?
I think it's just the understanding of it all, you know. I think that's what sets, and I think like how much the therapist cares, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, a therapist can just sit there and take a wage at the end of the day, you know. But I think because there was that sort of level of care, and me thinking, you know, this is the be all and end all. If you don't sort it out now, you ain't never going to get it sorted. I think that's been quite key. you know. And like I say, you've got to have that partnership, otherwise it ain't going to work, you know.
And Danny, what were the key things that you think you brought to that relationship that made it work for you?
Probably my enthusiasm. I think just the motivation and enthusiasm to want to get better, like, you know. I was fed up with hurting myself and everyone around me, you know. I think without that and the realisation that, look, this is a serious issue here, like, you know, you've lived with this for 10 years, you've got to get out of it, you know. Without that, I wouldn't have got to where I am, like, you know. So.
And Danny, you mentioned that that you'd seen some therapists who perhaps worked in the military, and maybe there are veterans out there who've had that experience too and are a bit reluctant to come to Veterans NHS Wales because they've had some experiences with military therapists. Is there any messages that you want to give to veterans who maybe have had that experience and are a bit reluctant to come to Veterans NHS Wales?
I think at the end of the day, everyone's different. You know, what worked for me might not work for someone else. You know, I think that's just part and parcel of mental health issues, you know. You know, whoever I saw in the military, it just didn't click, and I think the defining factor in it all is because I just weren't ready to accept. I think ultimately, I think it's because I was still in the army, I was still serving, and that's why it didn't work, because there was such a stigma around it, and I didn't want it to, you know, mess up my career, you know. Not that I'm telling people in the army, get out and you get sorted, like, you know, but I think it's the realisation that you want to get better and you've got a problem, you know. That's the biggest thing, and, you know, I dare say, you know, it'll probably click with whoever you see, you know. But yeah, I just, whoever has an issue, you know, just talk to someone at the end of the day, you know. Everyone's there for everyone, like, you know. In this day and age, you've got to be kind, innit, you know. So just speak to someone and get help, you know.
Danny, you mentioned that when you were in the military, there was a stigma about mental health problems and seeking help. Do you think that stigma, that you carried that with you even when you came, after you left the military?
Yeah, massively. In the police, when I worked in the police, I did, yeah. I suppose really to a degree, I don't talk about it to people in my job now, you know. But if they ask, I'm quite open to it, you know. I just don't broadcast it, like, you know. But I think, you know, no matter what age of time you're in, there's always going to be stigma around mental health, you know, because it's not a widely discussed subject, you know. I'd talk to anyone about it, really, you know. But I think that certainly in the military, you know, it's got to be talked about as much as, you know, a weapons handling test or something, you know. Because without the understanding and support, like, sooner or later, if you've got a problem, you ain't going to function as a human being, let alone a soldier. So, you know, get it sorted.
Thank you very much for taking time watching this video. In particular, I want to thank Danny for taking time sharing his story with us. As Danny talked about, sometimes stigma can get in the way of veterans seeking help. But Veterans NHS Wales is absolutely here to help. So if you are a veteran or someone that you care about is a veteran who might benefit from our support, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Our contact details are at the end of this short film.